Side selection is the same as you alluded to. Bans so far are the same as game one as well. Elise, Zach, Fiora now gone. Kha'Zix's likely to follow, with Twitch and Rakan as the last two from our first game.
Actually going to be a Warwick ban here instead of the Kha'Zix, so a little bit of adaptation there from Splyce. ROCCAT did choose blue side here as well, so Splyce had been forced over to red once again. And ROCCAT last game banned out the Twitch as their final pick, but maybe want to change things up a little bit here with that Warwick coming from Splyce.
I think you have to... Ooh. Well, Blitzcrank has been seeing a lot more priority and presence, and if the Twitch does get through, you don't want Twitch Blitzcrank or Twitch Thresh to be picked together. Interestingly, Xayah went through the entire pick and ban phase last game and didn't get picked up.
Has really fallen down.
Rakan is here, and Xayah are both available for this draft, so ROCCAT may very well be one of the teams to get Xayah and Rakan multiple times. I believe this would be game number 3 for them to have the duo together.
It's pretty spicy if you can get those together. The lovers leaping in that bottom lane. Splyce looking for their support to start it off. It is going to be the Braum, and now have a wealth of options. Galio still on the cards if they want to go there. So the Renekton and Jace banned out in the second rotation last time. Still strong junglers with the Lee Sin.
Interesting to go Braum here. Only from the perspective that Thresh is very, very strong champion, can be played into Rakan, is a decent matchup. Tom Kench is a matchup that we're seeing very commonly, but I guess it makes a little bit sense now when you pair the Kalista alongside it. But you've just given Xayah over alongside Rakan should ROCCAT want to pick it.
And they do, alongside the Lee Sin as well for Pride Stalker. So it is a all-bird bottom lane for the time being.
Braum's a pretty funny bird, but I guess
all
you're
bird
talking
bottom
only
lane for
on
ROCCAT,
yeah.
Snakes are known to eat birds, though, so perhaps Splyce have something in the works, some strategy that they have prepared to reveal to us here.
And it's the Splyce flex. Could be Gragas in the top lane, of course. Nerfs to Doran's Blade probably mean this is not Doran's Blade, Doran's Ring.
You got some interesting Gragases in your games.
I know, right? Likely going in the jungle for Trashy. We've seen him have great impact on this pick.
That we have, and we saw Soaz play incredibly well yesterday as well for Fnatic. Some game changes moments for them against H2K. Now, Galio ban, Kennen ban as well from ROCCAT. No surprises too much here, and next rotation, a lot of top lane focus, so we might actually see the Gragas flex up towards Wonder just to fill out that top lane role.
Likely Splyce will leave their last pick in that case to be top lane. Could go for the Talia or something again in the middle lane blind. It's not the kind of pick that gets instantly countered by a lot of things, can do badly against assassins. Another one, Corki, was available in the last game that we saw Splyce opt not to pick. That I think is a safe blind pick.
Oh, definitely.
For the majority, you can just take that and say, okay, well, you can play almost anything into this.
It's going to be Rumble again
same thing
for
again.
Splyce up towards that top side. So it is the Gragas in the jungle, and they took the Gnar away from him. It's not going to be Heimerdinger. Don't, oh, come on.
But you can play Shen into this, which has side lane presence. Looking at other matchups, you can run into Rumble. It's likely going to be... Well, everybody's just booing at the fact it's not Heimerdinger. You really thought Heimerdinger was getting picked up?
Could be Camille here as well, though, in the top lane. Was buffed in this patch, 7-12, and a very strong split pusher. Does the same job as Fiora in a lot of cases. Splyce have mid lane pick last here, unless they're doing some weird wonder flex that we just haven't.
No, I think it's likely, as you said, to be mid lane here. We saw Camille yesterday come out of Fnatic in the support role. That's not what it's going to be for ROCCAT. It will be that top lane against Faxi. I don't necessarily know how much I'm expecting out of Faxi on the Camille, but certainly a matchup that outside of the laning phase, the same kind of principle. You dominate out in the side lane, deny Wonder the ability to team fight with the team, and then you basically take the tower from behind him, and it can be difficult to deal with. But I think Splyce, again, running a composition that is not their flavor that we have come to know from them. This one a little bit more focused around team fighting once again with the Gragas, with the Rumble, with the Kalista.
I'm trying to look through Faxi's games because I think this might be his first Camille game this entire year. And it's not something that is incredibly easy to pick up. I'm sure he's practiced it, of course, but a lot of complexities to that champion that can be played around. And with the Rumble changes as well, that adds another degree of depth to that top lane. So I'm really interested to see how that lane does end up playing out. Across the board, relatively similar compositions from both these two teams, doing the same things as they did last time. ROCCAT have a split push up towards the top side. Guys, if you want to get involved, make sure you do join the conversation on Twitter at LOLesports, hashtag SPYWin if you think Splyce are going to equalize the series, and hashtag ROCWin if you think ROCCAT are going to take it 2-0. We're going to get onto the Summoner's Rift in just a short second. But before we do, I'm going to let the crowd roar just a little bit. Look at that.
That's more than a little bit. Crowd's hyped. See what the extra minute or so of waiting for Trashy. I was worried there, Medic. I was worried.
I saw
like almost like Superman.
I've got scrubs on underneath.
I know. That's what I was going to say.
I've got my stethoscope in the back. I'd have Deficio run it out to me. Actually, probably have Dracos run it out to me.
More reliable. You'll probably find Deficio in the cast room, like trying it on himself for a while.
Taking selfies. ROCCAT 1-0 up against Splyce, looking for another clean game from them, and they have some power picks across the board. Camille in the top lane, Betsy with his Syndra once again, and then the birds of a feather flock together in the bottom lane as Hyanan and Woodid get the Xayah-Rakan duo.
30 seconds until minions.
I thought you were about to make another obscure British TV reference there with Birds of a Feather. I was like, I did not watch it. I can't follow this one. Yeah, I know, right? I tried to make a Price is Right reference in the studio yesterday. Did not work. Apparently, Price is Right did not make it properly over to Germany. It was called Die Price is Heiß for a while, but nobody watched it, and that doesn't matter anyway. We're looking at bottom lane. That's where we're going on this. The Winter's Bite does connect onto Hyanan.
Looking for the concussive blows, not going to be able to get out. Look at the deadly plumage into the junk. Mickey pushed back. Concussive blows comes out. The ignite is onto Mickey as well as ROCCAT.
Watch for the Rend.
The first kill. The Rend is there. Woodid just about survives, and now Hyanan gets some pressure down onto Kobe as well. Both supports go low, but neither dies.
Ooh, the irony is Splyce actually played up against Xayah and Rakan and didn't, up against a Kalista and Rakan and didn't respect the Rend power that came, whereas ROCCAT this time able to kind of deny a lot of this early game presence. The ignite is down for Woodid. Woodid had a decent trade on that, and they will be able to push quite effectively early in this matchup. But this Braum does create a lot of trouble here. You kind of just run up, try and get the stun. Woodid saved himself.
Into exhaust. Hyanan has to use the heal and the flash. Ooh. Woodid with 100% record thus far on Rakan, but didn't look like it at all with that play.
That was Woodid saving himself only.
That's how you win the game as support. Just let your AD carry die time and time again.
And that was flash used by Hyanan. Of course, you've got to now look at the health potion that was used by Hyanan. Of course, now Doran's shield on 7.12. You only can get one health potion with it because that slight cost increase means that the survivability, the sustain is a little bit lower for this Xayah, but still that push pressure has given them the level 2 early on, and Kobe and Mickey only just reaching level 2 themselves.
Lucian pick as well for Senkux in the mid lane. He was someone we focused on early on in the first game, and now he needs to step up and actually pressure Betsy back in this lane.
Yeah, and he played Lucian in their first series. I believe it was against H2K and got ganked really early. Wonder has spotted Pride Stalker.
I think Pride Stalker realized that as well.
Yeah, Wonder backed away. But Senkux really didn't respect the early game of Jankos in that first series on this Lucian. The Senkux was pushing up, got ganked, died, and really did nothing. So I want to see him not make the same mistakes, because here in Europe, haven't really had the most success on the Lucian mid. Only Febiven has been able to successfully pull it off.
Senkux went 2-5-2 the last time he played this Lucian.
It was not an impressive
It was the only series that Splyce have lost as well, though, against H2K. So, still perhaps developed since then. I believe that was all the way back in week 1. Yeah, it was
the opening series of the split.
Yeah, exciting time.
But it doesn't bode well that they're a game down and they pick the Lucian. Pride Stalker
on his way up top here, and Wonder will have to flash away from Pride Stalker if he plays this properly. Tempest Cripple misses the Sonic Wave, but does get the flash from Wonder.
Flash is already there, so unless Pride Stalker was able to get past the minions, hit that Q, would have been a tough gank to pull off. But still, there's the impact that we're expecting, and so much of what Splyce has done has been built around Senkux and Wonder. And again, we're in a situation where Wonder is in a tough matchup. Senkux, there's still a lot of questions about this pick for him.
Mickey had an incredible game on that Zyra in game 1, or at least in terms of damage output. Second in the game, actually only 18 or so damage behind Senkux, who did the most across the course of the game. Just always boggles my mind that supports can do that much work from the bottom lane. Senkux gets caught out by Betsy, knocked back. Betsy, having already back, picked himself up some boots and a Dark Seal, where Senkux went for the Doran's Blade. Yeah,
and of course, some champions will now not go the Doran's Rings that we saw a whole bunch of. Of course, Lucian never would have anyway, but it's only the mana stacking that doesn't work anymore. Still get all the health, the AP, all that goodness coming from the Doran's Ring. So if Betsy does decide to pick up another, not expecting it, but that would be the reason for it.
Well, Soaz did it yesterday on both Galio and on the Gragas top, so it still gives you all of the tankiness you need.
It's kind of matchup dependent now. We saw in the LPL, Gragas running into, I believe it was Jax, went one Doran's Ring into double cloth armor, which kind of makes sense because you're looking just in that 1 versus 1 setup. Speaking of 1 versus 1, top lane, Faxy's going to want to trade against Wonder.
Wonder's going the wrong way here, but Trashy is on his way. Faxy does have his flash. Flashes away from Trashy. That's respect.
Yeah, Faxy knew he was out of range of Body Slam Flash, but maybe a Flash Q slow into a Rumble Electro Harpoon might have been enough to get that kill. So played around it, played it with respect, just like Wonder did earlier when it was Pride Stalker ganking, but neither jungler having to expend a lot on these ganks. Just time that they really have put as an input.
Interestingly, we actually see a lead for Splyce's bottom lane this time. They are a few CS up at the 6-minute mark, and their 2v2 trade has been incredibly strong into Kiana and Wadid. We saw how aggressive they went at level 1. So it's something we've seen from Kobbe and Mickey time and time again.
Yeah, and a lot of that is also a couple of the other aspects of sustain that ROCCAT don't necessarily have. This is a good trade now onto Kobbe as he comes back into lane, but Hyunan's heal, Wadid's heal is kind of difficult to pull off. You land that Q, you then have to walk into your ally, but if the opponents aren't out available to be queued, Wadid can't exactly get a lot of health back. He doesn't provide a whole lot of health either without putting points in it. And
Wadid with the knockup, Mickey puts the Unbreakable down. Wadid just continually trading in, but look at how far away he can dance with that battle dance with the shield. Just jumps across the entire length of the lane.
Splyce looking to converge on this bottom side, but I think they're actually not really going to find much here as Trashy backs away. The interesting thing is Wadid has actually put 3 points now in his queue. Something we didn't see supports doing initially with Rakan. Seen it a little more frequently, especially when you're running the Frost Queen's claim route of items and that quest path. A little bit lower on the cooldown, and you can get a little more sustain from it. But once you complete that quest, remember when you hit the Q, you get the influx of gold. It also increases movement speed. So Rakan synergizes quite well with that. The quickness goes active, and you can charm everybody up.
Something I'm pretty used to is charming everybody up. We did also going for the Wind Speaker's Blessing in that bottom lane. Not courage of the Colossus. Wonder's going to get traded on by Faxy. Of course, that shield comes up a little bit quicker. The adaptive defensive passive from Camille, slightly buffed in 7-12. Alongside the Q damage. Pride Stalker looking for a little bit of a red steal here. Focus was on Pride Stalker in game 1 because of his early ganks. This game he's struggled a little bit more. Splyce have had the advantage down towards that bottom side.
I mean, it's been struggling in sense of ganks of getting kills, but he's done a good job getting into the top side, getting the first flash, farming up, now sealing a red buff away as well. So I think Pride Stalker, it's been a much more farm-oriented game, which is the Lee Sin maybe isn't exactly optimal of what you're looking at, but still good. He hasn't done anything that's particularly bad out for ROCCAT so far, so I think he's in a decent spot. Looking to get topside, but Trashy is heading up there as well. Wonder now has his flash, Faxy does not. So this is more, I believe, of a counter gank than an actual aggressive approach coming out from Pride Stalker.
Wonder comes down to place a ward. Pride Stalker will get spotted by Trashy, jumps away onto the ward. Puts the Sonic Wave down as well. Faxy will just back himself away underneath this tower. Continually getting pushed in by this Rumble as expected. Relatively slow game for these two teams. ROCCAT not being able to extend that early lead we saw them have in the last game. And you have to think this plays into Splyce's favor because even in the mid game when they were behind, they were able to win a couple of fights against ROCCAT.
Yeah, Splyce managing to kind of turn the tide at a couple of moments. For now, though, they're 10 CS up, top lane 10 CS up in the 80 carry role. And it's going to be a bit of a slow starter on this one. We have reached level 6, so Trashy can start to have some impact, but bottom lane, it's just, ooh, I thought that was going to be defensive.
Mickey actually goes aggressive with it. As you say, I thought he was going to jump his way back. Kionan continues to push forward. There's the Featherstorm, gets the Blade Caller back, and the root comes down onto Kobbe. Will it be enough? Not quite to get Kobbe down, but great harass from Kionan and Wadid as they continue to push forward towards this tower. There's a TP in behind, and Wonder has the equalizer. Kianan's going to try and jump away, uses the flash, but here comes the equalizer. The stun used as well. Glacial Fisher and Splyce just absolutely destroy the ROCCAT bot lane. They're looking for more. Wadid has nowhere to go. That's another kill. Brightstalker does come in and equalizes it 2 for 1. However, in the mid lane, 2 people are ganking onto Betsy as well. Trashy has used his flash, and Betsy had to use his across the wall.
Looked like Betsy got a very important double stun there on the middle lane before the explosive cask was thrown out from Trashy. That probably would have spelled his death. But Betsy managing to get away, so actually managing to outplay. Bottom lane, it looked like Faxi TP'd in and cancelled it. Either that or he TP'd into lane before, as Senkux tries to punish Betsy for having no flash. Barrier was still there, so there was no kill pressure realistically.
Let's have another look at this bot lane, because Kionan and Wadid go aggressive.
Yeah, Kionan and Wadid go in. Remember, Mickey gets pulled back out by Kobbe here. I thought it was going to be a defensive play. So Faxi starts recoiling in the top side. That's who I'm keeping my eyes on. And Splyce caught out by the Featherstorm. It doesn't look good. Oh, Faxi channeled his TP up to the top lane right before Wonder backs away. Channels his TP to the ward in the bottom lane. And that's what made it so that Splyce could take that. Now we're back into live action. Mickey's in the mid lane. No flash, Betsy.
Double tap onto Betsy. He uses the barrier, tries to trade onto Senkux, but he flashes away from it. That's a kill. Syndra down in mid lane.
Doesn't matter whether it's bot lane or a mid laner and a support. Lucian Braum will always have great synergy. Double tap passive off that Winter's Bite means you can just lock Betsy down. And with no summoners available after that barrier was gone, Splyce now in control of this game. 1,000 gold up. This is the position that they were not in the previous game. But Brightstalker wants to change that. Top side is where he's going.
Hextech ultimatum onto Wonder, puts the equalizer down. Brightstalker misses the Q and can't get there in time. Faxi continues to trade, but they cannot dive the Rumble.
And Brightstalker was no flash there, so it would have meant after the Q, he would have had to have followed up, tried to get the right angle on the kick. Wonder was still quite healthy. May have been enough damage, but at the same time, this isn't quite the same early game out of ROCCAT that we saw in game 1 of this series. And now you've got to look at how that benefits Splyce. They've got a Lucian that is ahead, a Kalista that is ahead.
A long way ahead. That's like 20 CS and a kill in that bottom lane, yeah.
This is as far ahead as Kionan was ahead in game 1.
And the question then becomes, can Splyce do what ROCCAT did in game 1? Because ROCCAT methodically closed out the game. There were a few hiccups here and there, but across the course of it, they were very strategic and understood exactly what they wanted to do at each individual point. Now Splyce need to show us that they can do that if they want to be challenging for that top spot in Group B.
Well, that's one thing that I have a little bit more confidence in Splyce doing than ROCCAT doing. If you took a freeze frame at this point in this game and in the last game, and you say, okay, who do you think is more likely to just close this game out? Splyce would be the one from game 2 here that you look at that you'd think is the numbers favor them, but still, that's just from a wealth of history of Splyce being able to perform. ROCCAT, only recently have you really been able to give them that credit over the last few months.
It has been consistent over the last few months.
It has.
Splyce sometimes have been a little bit more up and down. Some weeks great, some weeks not so good.
But it takes time for general consensus to solidify, to cement, and you know, have people truly believe that you can do that. It's the same reason why nobody's like, oh my god, G2, they're third in the rankings right now, they're awful, they're done, panic everybody. No, it's because for 3 splits they won the EU LCS, and you have to expect that they will come back and win. Whereas ROCCAT, for a lot of splits, didn't perform. Now that they are performing, it's going to take some time. In games like this, while they're still quite even, you have to favor Splyce for pushing down through onto this first tower.
We get first tower blood, and at 13 minutes in, they will be 2,000 gold ahead. Splyce setting up down towards the bottom side as well as Kionan goes in, gets the charm, probably knocked up as well. Here's Brightstalker. Fate's Call brings back Mickey. Splyce just disengaged, but here comes Faxi. He's looking for the fray as he jumps in with a Hextech ultimatum, and Mickey is the target. Look at how low he is. The Sonic Wave hits his Betsy as well as Splyce might get routed underneath this tower. Cubby there. Equalizer comes down as Wonder TP's in behind him.
Clean this up.
It's all on Wonder. Can he turn and burn through this ROCCAT lineup? He's looking for Faxi, who tries to trade back into him. Wonder overheats. Faxi with the adapter defenses, but here's Trashy to stop it in its tracks. Meanwhile, the rest of ROCCAT somehow are in the top of the blue side jungle.
Yeah, they're trying to scatter because Senkux is heading through. No scatter the week comes out first because ROCCAT right now are the ones on the retreat. They should get away from this. I don't believe Hyanan was clipped by Senkux all that much, so he's just going to be able to run out through the top side. Doesn't even look for that execute. So, ROCCAT make a play onto the bottom lane. Splyce with somewhat of a reaction to punish ROCCAT, but here's how it all started. Splyce go aggressive, not really anticipating Pride Stalker to be here. They go in. Cobby gets locked down once again by the Feather Storm. Splyce are on the retreat. And as Faxi goes in, the flash out by Mickey keeps him alive for a moment longer, drags Faxi into the tower, but ooh, curving the Sonic Wave around the corner. And then Splyce have to try and hold on while Wonder comes through. It doesn't result in the tower, importantly. Remember, that's what Splyce got up on the top side of the map to begin this whole play.
Does result in 2 kills apiece, though, as Faxi did fall at the end of the fight, and the rest of ROCCAT were able to make their way away. I think Pride Stalker actually just backed up towards the top side.
He just got the recall off up here.
It's interesting because he was spotted, and Senkux could have tried to chase him down, but obviously respecting Lee Sin's mobility in the jungle.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling, when you E over the wall to catch a Lee Sin and he just ward jumps the other way. That's why he was maybe trying to just catch out Hyanan instead. Easier prey. Don't know how, like, lasers are against, like, birds, you know, like skeet shooting and all that kind of thing. Like clay pigeons, not real animals. No one condones that. Okay. I see you looking at me like that.
I just didn't quite know where the lasers were going. At the moment, they're going straight to Betsy's face. He flashes the wall. Laser's not effective against Syndra.
See, Lucian has laser guns.
It's true.
That's where they came from.
I didn't work out that. I'm sorry. I was too slow following your analogies.
You have good accuracy if you're slow on like clay pigeon shooting at that point. But at this point, Splyce slow on the retreat out of mid lane, but Wonder is around to be able to hold on.
Splyce are doing such a good job of out-macroing ROCCAT at the moment and out-rotating them. They've got top lane tower, they got the first turret blood there, and now they're looking towards mid as well. But when ROCCAT react, they say, okay, we don't need it yet. We've chunked it down with 4,000 gold ahead. We can play a slower game. We can look towards the Rift Herald. And ROCCAT with this Xayah Rakan, which across this is across all teams for the EU LCS Summer, is a 3-1 record. ROCCAT have one of those wins, I believe.
And I believe a loss to their name as well.
Quite possibly.
Yeah. They have had this Xayah and Rakan combination a couple of times now, and we're seeing it again out of them. This time it's on the losing end in the laning phase. They played it against the G2 substitute lineup against Sven and Mithy, who remained in the game for the first series of the split. And they did actually do well in the laning phase. Up against Sven and Mithy, the Xayah Rakan did very well, dominating the early game, but haven't really seen that all that much recently out of ROCCAT.
They're, like, Hyanan and Wadid have been stalwart members of ROCCAT, but they're the sort of lane that if they fall behind, you just don't really see them that much throughout the game. They're very much tied to each other. Wadid will spend his laning phase with Hyanan and just say, okay, guys, we'll sit down towards this bottom side. Whereas Splyce, if Cobby and Mickey fall behind, Mickey tends to be roaming around the map and looking for plays. And that's why in the first game we looked at his mid lane proximity, and he's actually one of the top supports for being near his mid laner in the early game.
And we know that Mickey has played the Bard, he's played a lot of Malzahar when it was the support champion, looking for that engage potential in other lanes. And that's why Braum isn't necessarily a surprising pick, because it fits absolutely within the meta and in sense of this game. But for Mickey, it isn't synonymous.
Well, engages all across the map here as Wadid uses the quickness. His Pride Stalker kick back. Tempered Fate will come alive for the moment. Cobby manages to get out towards the backside. Hexagolden Maiden was used by Faxi in the top lane as well, but he got burnt down and had to flash away. Wonder's looking for the chaser. No equalizer for him, but decides he doesn't want to flash to try and take down Faxi.
And this is the kind of matchup that we were looking at Camille being able to dominate later on. Well, now we've got past that level 11 mark for Faxi, but couldn't quite take that trade, as you were alluding to. Doesn't have the Trinity Force quite available. I believe after that point, That should be the moment that it opens up.
Betsy dodges the explosive cast, but can he dodge the culling? Manages to get away from a lot of it. Trashy falls back. The turret's not going to fall. The unleashed power is enough. And Bridestalker comes in as well. Senkuts has to flash. ROCCAT make a superb play in the mid lane. It was all on Betsy's shoulders, and he came up huge.
Yeah, Trashy came into the lane and just threw the cast out, expecting Betsy to move back and away from the tower. Did not connect, and now Splyce. Oh, Sen gets this one in.
Oh, Woodage used all of his mobility to go in, though. The Glacial Fisher there. Betsy's been caught up with the Electro Harpoon, tries to get the knockback, but burns down. Splyce will get the mid lane tower. They're 7 kills to 4 up, and they lead by 5,000 gold.
And this is way better out of Wonder on this Rumble than in game 1. This is just better overall out of Splyce. You look at how they were playing. We talked about it being a different playstyle. Well, now maybe we're starting to see why they're bringing this playstyle out. Wonder is being very active, moving lane to lane, appearing at the right time, moving into the fights and getting the damage down. And now it turns into a bottom tower as well for Splyce. They have cracked all of the outer towers so far without ROCCAT responding with any buildings of their own.
And there's an Infernal Drake for them as well. They didn't want the Rift Tower. They will want this Infernal Dragon. 3 towers, an Infernal Drake, the Baron on the cards as well, of course, because you have the Callista, you've got the Lucian. So quick, you can take that massive buff later on in the game. And Senkuts, even just by himself, is forcing Bridestalker away.
Yeah, Bridestalker realized there was nothing more to gain from being around the dragon again. Callista, just with that Ren damage, is so much more than a Smite can output here. So Betsy, maybe he was, you know, trying to draw in Trashy, fake that he was going back out, but Trashy with a very early cask. Didn't quite work out for him on this one. Of course, that was the start of this fight. Splyce would end up bringing Wonder to the fight. You can see him running in from the base, but ROCCAT in the live picture did just even up a tower for themselves as we watch Splyce continue to close this out. It did not really respecting some of the mobility that was coming from Senkuts himself.
Even there, though, even if you respect the mobility, you shouldn't use both of your shields and then go in. Use one, go in, so you can then jump back out, but just not on the best play from him. And you can see Betsy perhaps a little bit perturbed by that all round. As you say, ROCCAT have got a tower, still 5,000 gold lead for Splyce, and they're setting up vision around this river and around the Baron now.
Perturbed. I really need to work on my vocabulary. Otherwise, you're going to just show me up.
I just have a
one of these long
in all
words.
honesty, I've got a set of words that I've written on a Google document that I look at every now and again. And whenever I have a word that I can't think of stuff, I just look up Google synonyms for it. It's the bonus of having a second monitor that I can switch to anything on.
Okay, that's preparation for that. Maybe that needs to go.
Do you want me to give you some more? Huge,
what's a
massive, colossal, monumental, gargantuan, enormous, vast, immense, prodigious,
now
mammoth,
you give
tremendous,
it,
tremendous, hefty, titanic.
That is a gross number of words.
Very nice. Now Splyce are going to go for the Baron. They've got a huge amount of damage to take this one down. They're absolutely decimating it, devastating it, dismantling it.
You just used all of your words.
ROCCAT are coming forward. Bridestalker looking to dissuade them from it for the time being. And Splyce, distracted by ROCCAT, will just back away.
I thought ROCCAT were about to start the Baron there. I was like, okay, don't get tempted in by that. Wonder does have TP available, as does Faxi at this point, and it's Wonder that has the level advantage. 14 to Faxi's 12. Splyce still looking to go aggressive, but no flash on Trashy makes it a little more tricky in this middle lane. Betsy has his flash.
This is the thing, though, for ROCCAT. They can still harass down. They've got good poke from the Syndra, of course, and Faxi eventually will get to a point where he can split into this Rumble. At the moment, he's nowhere near that. Leandri's and Zhonya's completed onto Wonder. Only that Trinity Force on Faxi, but eventually, 40 minutes later, he will be able to split push. Camille, one of the best late game split pushes there is.
And that's the thing, is like Camille was intended to be a champion that kind of was a bruiser, a little bit of a split pusher, a little bit of a team fight, but turns out just really strong, at least pre-nerfs, when it comes to both team fighting and split pushing. So we have to now see, after some nerfs that took her out of competitive play and then a couple of tweaks now to bring her back into competitive play, just how strong Camille is. From the support role in a melee support meta, we saw effectiveness yesterday from Fnatic. For those of you wondering, they did then complete the duo recall.
I saw it.
As Kianan started, and then I think
Wood did actually pinged himself, saying, please assist me, and Kianan realized it and went across and back with him. The first time I ever played the Rakan Xayah bot lane, my Xayah backed away before me, And
Okay.
I went to try and back on him, but I didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
So I was just right-clicking on the Xayah, and then I question mark pinged her when she left. So she's like, why didn't you help me? Why didn't you help me? Obviously, you have to press B. You have to actually initiate a back yourself on top of the Xayah. It's the reason I'm not in LCS, Stress, right there.
That's
mechanical
the one
misplays.
You know, G2, they were scouting, they saw that play and just thought, no.
Oh, here comes the equalizer. ROCCAT looking to try and get a mid-lane tower. And here comes the Pedestorm as well. Great explosive cast to knock him back. The Price Stalker kicks him away as well. Now Splyce are fighting on two different fronts. Price Stalker tries to jump away, but he's not going to be able to escape from Splyce. Baxi jumps the wall. Price Stalker falls. So does Betsy, and Splyce take two.
One of the reasons why Splyce utilizes Gragas pick so much is once you get out of the early portion of the game, Trashy starts showing up very effective utilizing explosive cask. Double cask manages to get ROCCAT 2 kills on that fight, and now with no smite for ROCCAT, Splyce turn towards the Baron. They have the Kalista. Faxi's going to execute. Doesn't even matter at this point. It's just soaking up time. There's a rend here for Kalista. There should be no way that Hyanan and Widid can actually steal this away.
They are just trying to harass down Splyce, but I think they will just retreat. There we are. Jumps away with the grand entrance into the battle dance. And this will be the Baron for Splyce. We saw it be their downfall in game one. Will it have the same bad omen for them here?
Well, this is ROCCAT not respecting equalizer from the side. Trashy body slam flash into the cask. Betsy even died going the opposite way in this fight because he tries to get further damage out. Pride Stalker utilizes him as an escape route and unfortunately keeps him close enough to the fight that Splyce end up carrying through on the last 2 kills. Then up to Baron. We don't need to see that chase happen.
I actually want to look at what did in that last fight as well. I mean, he didn't do much damage. Senkox didn't actually do any damage in that last fight. It wasn't even needed because of that great equalizer. But we did try to jump onto Wonder and just mispositioned his grand entrance. Wasn't able to get the charm off, then had to flash back into Mickey to try and charm him up. With a champion he's got 100% win rate on thus far, he's actually really struggling in this game to make the plays that he needs to help ROCCAT get ahead.
And you have to look at a lot of that must come from the early game sense that ROCCAT have been playing from behind, but now he wants to go.
There's the double charm. Senko's going to jump the wall. Featherstorm comes out. Hyanan isolated in the back line. Price Stalker's going to jump away as well. Cobby gets Redid down. Faxi's in the middle of them all. That's a double for Cobby. Price Stalker's not going to be able to escape from Senkox. 4 kills to none in favor of Splyce, and they're looking for one more. Trashy with the barrel. Oh, quite get close enough. Mickey won't be able to get there either. Betsy does escape.
This time with the Baron buff, Splyce very effective in the fight, and then now with the Baron buff to push down the towers. Mid inhibitor likely to fall from this. 20 seconds remaining on Pride Stalker and Faxi, and that means that Splyce have a lot of time to make sure they can secure as much as they want here. They've just been ahead for the last 10 to 15 minutes of this game, and it means that ROCCAT have tried to make plays, tried to make fights happen, but unfortunately, Splyce have been ready and able to fight much better than in game one.
All comes back to that early game as well. Both teams, when they have had a lead, have been able to close out incredibly effectively. This was ROCCAT getting slightly caught out and then looking to make the play. Senko's with great positioning.
Well, we did, looking for the aggressive play onto Trashy and the rest of Splyce, but unfortunately, there was no damage to follow him. Faxi came in, but Faxi was then isolated himself. 1 versus 3. Senko's able to take down Pride Stalker. Betsy manages to get away just because of the stun on the tail end here. Otherwise, Trashy would have been hammering that Q. Try to get that slow. It wasn't quite enough. But unfortunately, 1 minute left of the hammering that Splyce are going to put on the base for ROCCAT right now. It's just about an 11,000 gold lead for the Splyce team.
It's pretty devastating, and Splyce can look towards Mountain Drake as well if they want. Faxi pushing up in this bottom lane will get collapsed on by Splyce. Eventually he realizes he shouldn't be in that position anymore. Wonder's actually going to get caught out. There's the charm, there's the unleashed power, there's the shutdown forwarded.
Good shutdown. There was no Zhonya's available on Wonder, so that gold now getting split amongst the ROCCAT team will slow down the last minute that we were talking about on this Baron buff for Splyce. They will need an advantageous fight for themselves in order to realistically take it to ROCCAT further. You can see Jeeves, General Jeeves.
I didn't tell my droid to be there. Get the droidicus. that's a thing, right, in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Your Star
It
Wars
was closer
knowledge
to
is-
like Phantom Menace than anything with the droidicus,
Okay.
if I'm being honest.
Misa.
Honestly, it like when it was Clone Wars and that, you started having those super battle droids, the big ones. That,
oh, yeah.
The ones that looked like less cool, but shot better.
I don't think the Empire's really ever had anything that shoots in a straight line.
No,
Look at Stormtroopers. At the moment, the only thing shooting in a straight line is Senkux on this Lucian. 3-0-2, very much a carry for his team this game alongside Kobe. Both of them have played exceptionally well, and they were the members we said needed to step up for Splyce if they were going to take this victory, and they've done exactly that. 10,000 gold lead at the 30-minute mark, and ROCCAT are looking absolutely rocked to their very core.
Although Shannon and Wadid are finding the time to be cute in the bottom lane, apparently.
You've got to
there were a couple
make
of ahs coming out from our audience.
You've got to make time for this sort of stuff. It's like when I was working in hospitals and we did night shifts, they'd say, our lecturers would say to us, before a night shift starts, you should empty your bucket. So it means you should actually Wonder's going to get jumped on in the bottom lane.
I don't even know whether I want to hear the end of that.
That's a kill for Betsy. They emptied a huge amount of damage onto him. Betsy's actually caught off towards the top side of this. It isn't anything bad. It's a good little story. We'll get to it after this fight. Betsy's actually going to try and execute up here as Senkux does come in. Wonder gets the kill.
Yeah, hadn't lasted long enough. Of course, that Leandri's ticked after just... So is it a metaphorical
It's
bucket?
a metaphorical thing. So
okay.
you have this bucket of stresses and worries that are built up on you throughout the day.
Please don't put me in a bucket.
Okay, Alan's going to get jumped on as well. Featherstorm does come out, and Mickey's going to try and get the concussive blows onto Pridestalker, who jumps his way away as well. They just don't want me to tell this story.
No, it's too late now. We're just never going to know what's in the mystery bucket at this point. Well, Splyce are desperately trying to collect themselves enough of a lead here. It's a significant one for now. 10,000 gold. They're waiting on Baron to spawn in like 1 minute 30, so maybe you do have the time.
Okay, basically it means you need to reset.
Okay.
So what you do is you've got this bucket of stresses and worries, and you say, okay, I need to reset. So you eat some food. You make sure you've relieved yourself. You have a quick sit down for 5 minutes. You text your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your significant other that you love them. And that's what I was saying. Like, even in the midst of a war on Summoner's Rift, Kianan and Wadid found time to tell each other that they love them down in that bottom lane. Thank you all. It was a magical journey for me as well. Kianan and Wadid will get that red buff.
This audience is nice. Last week they booed me.
Well, yeah, that's because you never watched Dragon Ball Z.
But neither of you, and you told me that
I know all about Goku. I know everything about Goku.
That's the one with the trading cards, right?
Yes,
and the Shadow Realm.
It's the Beyblades.
And they digivolve.
They use the Beyblades.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, we're going to get so much flame for
There's
that.
going to be so many mad tweets.
Might as well
at the
do some
end
Game of Thrones spoilers in there as well.
No.
Okay, Kianan's going to jump over to empty your bucket, go back towards the bottom lane. You get there quicker, helps you reset for the next game, and that's what ROCCAT need to do because they are 10,000 gold behind. They are looking to try and find a way back into this game. They are scaling up. You've got crit build out of Kianan. That's one of the most effective Zaya builds of them all, and Callista falls off the later you get into the game.
Right, and that build that you're talking about, effective in the late game, because of the additional cooldown reduction you've got the crit chance in there as well. So it means you get multiple stuns in the fight. You can blow people up very quickly and multiple times, and that really is where a lot of that danger comes from. Holding even on CS as well, down in kills and assists, but when you look at that power level... I'm just teasing. I'm not going to do it.
We saw ROCCAT be quite far behind last week against Fnatic and be able to take out a win. Now they're going to try and contest this Baron as Splyce started up. Here comes Pridestalker, jumps in, the charm comes out. Kianan doing work, having to jump back. With it, Pridestalker's going to fall first. Here comes Faxi as well, though. Hexagon gets blocked by the Zonias. Great play by Wonder, and now Mickey joins the fray. Trashy jumps in. Senkux doing absolute work on the back line of this fight. Betsy takes one, but he's going to fall as well. Splyce with a 4-for-1. Around the Baron.
And that's got to be enough for Splyce to take the game right here, because that was a clean fight. Equalizer hit just about every member of ROCCAT that came through. Second Baron will now go over to Splyce, and this is exactly what they were looking for in the second game here. It was a rough game one out of Splyce. They tried a similar composition again. This time it's worked out way better for them.
12,000 gold ahead, 18 kills to 7, and with fights like this, Splyce are looking to take game 2 of this series.
Yeah, Wonder. Look at this equalizer. Pretty much down the line of ROCCAT players at that point. Pridestalker dies. Splyce not even focusing on the Baron anymore because they know that the fight is theirs. They've won it already. Trashy once again. Body slam flash. Wadid tried to jump onto Kianan to save maybe a little bit more damage coming through, but it wasn't enough. Senkux able to clean up alongside Kobe, and Splyce take the Baron.
Trash has been very on point throughout this game as well. Look at that damage coming out from Kobe, really stepping up to the mark. Betsy, you would expect Syndra to do a lot of damage if she gets the unleashed power down. Just very, very strong play by Splyce. And actually, you can see Faxi there. Wasn't really involved in the fight. He's been pushing down towards this bottom lane. There comes the equalizer. That's not going to save you. Senkux is dominating. 6-0-3 on this Lucian. In picks and bans, we doubted him. We said he's only gone 2-5-2. Well, he has proven us entirely wrong with this scoreline.
Yeah, this has been a lot better out of Senkux. Was able to get the early game to go in his favor. Had a lot of help from Trashy, from Mickey, the rest of the team coming towards that middle lane, as we talked about Splyce doing very frequently. And now Faxi for ROCCAT has been caught out multiple times by multiple members of Splyce as well. Splyce have grouped on the side lane and mid lane very effectively, and ROCCAT haven't been able to deal with that.
Still 2 minutes on this Baron buff, and ROCCAT just do not want to fight outside of their base. Will they defend the inhibitor tower? That is the big question, or will they just back away? Still 1 man down for the next 9 seconds as Splyce looks to push forward towards this first inhibitor tower. The wave is cleared relatively quickly by Betsy and by Kianan. And Splyce will not defend it for too long as Wonder splits up to top.
Yeah, Wonder's going to be able to get that tower quite quickly here with no Baron buff on Wonder, as he must have dropped in that exchange. Faxi wants to try and trade against him.
Level 16 to level 18 in favor of Wonder here. There's the Zhonya's, but Betsy joins it. Inhibitor tower's fallen in the bottom lane. They're going to lose the inhibit anyway, so they say, let's take a fight. They get the kill on Wonder. They get 1 trade for a tower and an inhibitor.
So this time, Splyce, I mean, they'll be happy with the fact they get an inhibitor just at the cost of Wonder's life. Wonder does have his TP up, but it's not necessarily that integral right now. 44 seconds is just under the duration of the Baron buff remaining for the rest of Splyce. So Splyce, if they get a pick here on ROCCAT, that would basically open the base back up, but it is tough without 5 members to know that you're going into a fight with the numbers advantage for Splyce.
ROCCAT have struggled so much this game to actually get waves pushing towards towers and be able to take down these neutral objectives. This is only their 2nd tower of the game. They are 13,000 gold behind. And Splyce have just been absolutely dominating. They're actually going to look to catch Faxi out once again as he continues just to push. There's Mickey. Concussive blows blocks him up. That's just a dead Camille.
Yeah, that's just an easy pick. Mickey knowing exactly the route that Faxi's going to take out of that lane once he tries to escape. And just gets an easy block.
All of the Splyce boys just gathered in the top lane and said to Faxi, stop right there. Thank you very much. We'll take this kill. And what we really, really want is that Nexus as well to equalize this series.
When you look at it, though, it's easy to tell. Kobe right now is definitely the scary Splyce. Outputting out a lot of damage in these fights, able to take so much to the ROCCAT lineup. From champion profile pictures, we get to see the Trashy is Ginger Spice.
Yep, that's true.
Playing the Gragas. It's an easy one.
Who would you say is Sporty Splyce?
I don't know.
Lucian.
Yeah.
It usually has the soccer skin, of course. So
that's true.
Striker Lucian. At the moment, Splyce are doing a very good job of just closing out this game, taking their time about it. A positive Baron power play, a lot better than their one in Game 1, of course.
Yeah, way better than that one in Game 1 where they got literally nothing other than the Baron.
And they are looking for their 2nd inhibitor of the game. Faxi's down towards the bottom side. All 5 members of Splyce are here. Trashy takes a dark spear to the face. There's the charm on towards Wonder. That's another kill. ROCCAT with the Featherstorm, perhaps looking for a little bit more here as Faxi's coming up to join the fight. Trashy gets hit with the Sonic Wave. Pride Stalker, you're going to feel it in your heart. The call of the Q was not strong enough as ROCCAT retreat for the time being.
Once again, though, this does slow Splyce down. And ROCCAT are no strangers to playing from behind. I remind you, Game 2 of ROCCAT versus Fnatic. At one point, they were down 11,000 gold. And Faxi was at one point 0 and, well, at least had 12 deaths. He's only at 5. That means so much more. Yeah, I know, but the 13th death was the one that won them the game.
That's true. Okay.
See, that's why that was a good death. He managed to absorb Soaz and Reckless out on the side lane, and ROCCAT won the rest of the game. Splyce are giving opportunities back now over to ROCCAT to kind of edge their way back into the game.
That they are. That they are. Splyce still 20 kills to 9 up, 15,000 gold in the lead, and they have broken the base of ROCCAT. That bottom lane is going to continue to push in. There's a minute on the next Baron, which you have to assume Splyce are waiting for. I want to bring attention to the support matchup once again. It's something we talked about in Picks and Bans in Game 1. We did say perhaps I can challenge against one of the best supports in Europe at the moment in the form of Mickey, and at the moment it's Mickey who is looking like the better player. You say, hey Mickey, he's playing so fine this game.
That's not a Spice Girls song.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I thought you were still on that one.
No,
it's fine. I know.
I don't know that many Spice Girls songs.
What
I'm sorry. I know. Like, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. And I want, if you want to be my lover.
Isn't that the same song?
Probably. I can't remember.
Pretty sure
was
that's
15
the same
years
song.
ago.
Okay, that's fair.
Splyce are going to push down.
You're just a
mid lane
wannabe right now at this point. And the key thing that I thought you were taking us to, I thought we were getting there with Mickey, is nearly got Stoneplate finished as well on this Braum, alongside the LOCCAT of the Iron Solari. Here's the fight.
Gets the knock-up onto Wadid, who tried to jump in. Great play. They're going to get the root on the back line, though. Senkox goes godlike. There's the equalizer as well. Betsy gets knocked up twice and taken down once. Double kill for Senkox. Splyce are looking to close this one out. They've had enough of this waiting game. Yarnan's dead. Kobe dominating. Kobe, not Kobe, he's in the LCS. They're looking for that mid lane inhibitor tower alongside the inhibitor and perhaps the game.
Yeah, it should be the game here with 3 members of ROCCAT being dead. Baron does spawn, but that doesn't really matter right now. Splyce will be able to take down both Nexus towers, take down the Nexus. They're taking us to game number 3.
Splyce look like they've been able to put all the pieces together in this game. They worked out the combination that works best for them, and they are going to take us to a game 3, 1-1 between ROCCAT and Splyce.
That was better out of Splyce, the early game presence that we saw. Their carries were enabled through Senkox, Kobe, and Wonder. A lot better than we saw in the first game of this series. And I think even though it was that departure of style than we've seen from Splyce in recent times, it was quite convincing. As soon as Wonder started being able to show up to these fights, where the Camille wasn't necessarily keeping him lane like the Gnar was, I think that's where Splyce actually looked very effective.
Very convincing from them. That's the sort of performance we expect from a top-level team in the group, and at the moment they are playing like first or second in Group B, like a team that can challenge for those world spots. I actually am very impressed from both of the teams in these first 2 games. Like Splyce in Game 2, ROCCAT in Game 1, you were smirking a little bit there.
I wasn't ready for the...
Oh, you weren't?
I was like starting my tie.
Well, in the break, we should look up some more Spice Girls songs to make sure we're ready for the next game. Splyce have answered back with a win. Let's send it to our analysts for a closer look.
Thank you very much, well, the host and the analyst. But I'm going to attempt. I'm going to do my best. But I do agree with you, Medic, the fact that both teams have actually left a very good impression in these games. But obviously, Splyce, they came out on top in this one. And if we look at Picks and Bans, you said not a fan of the Rumble in the first game, obviously, because it didn't yield that many results and maybe a change in the jungle. Trashy opted for Gragas in this one, and the Rumble stayed. So how did the game or the other picks influence the dynamic of what that Rumble could do in the lane?
Yeah, I think what happened in the first game was that you had a losing matchup in the top lane, and then you had no engage for the rest of your team fighting comp. So you just have Faxi putting down pressure in the side lane, and then there's nothing you can do with the rest of your team, because what you really want to do is to force a 5 versus 4 with the rest of your team when Faxi's in a side lane. Well, this time they drafted all the engage in the world. Well, not all of it, but they had a Gragas and they had a Braum together with a Kalista, so you have all the tools to start off a fight when you want to, and that's the key to unlocking this game.
How does the mid pressure come into play? Lucian can obviously do a lot more up against the Syndra in terms of pressure than Talia in the last matchup.
Yeah, Talia is more of the supportive pick that wants to help out your side laners, and when you already have a losing matchup in the top lane and somewhat of a even matchup in bottom lane, I think the Lucian is a stronger pick, because Talia wants to facilitate your other lanes to get them rolling, and when you don't have a lanes that's already snowballing, I think Lucian is a stronger pick, because he can just put down so much pressure in mid, which is exactly what we saw.
Yeah, Senkox, he went absolutely off in that game. We also are looking very intently at the bottom lane, knowing that we have Xayah and Rakan, and especially Wadid, who has shown that he is incredibly proficient on that Rakan, but they weren't able to create all the openings there. Was it the Braum and the Kalista on the other side, or what happened that they couldn't get the upper hand?
I had very high expectations for this duo lane of ROCCAT. We did see, though, that the Braum came out immediately as soon as the Rakan was locked in for ROCCAT, so that meant that Splyce had a plan, which showed it throughout this game. The bottom lane fight here in this beginning looks like it's going in the favor of ROCCAT, but here comes Wonder having TP from behind as the Rumble, and they're able to turn this fight as well as with Sengox coming in on the Lucian. And after this fight, there's a 2.5k gold advantage for Splyce, and they just keep out-rotating ROCCAT, get more and more towers, and a really big goal advantage just from controlling towers.
Yeah, we talked about the Rumble compared to Game 1 and Game 2. This time around, also just teleport timings, the engages, the equalizer landing in the exact spot at the exact same time proved to be so valuable for Splyce.
Yeah, for sure. Wonder shows that he can definitely play the Rumble. It's not his ability to play the champion that went wrong in game number 1. And against this Camille, which is a matchup where Camille will eventually be able to outscale the Rumble and win the 1v1 later on, especially with the buffs that she's been receiving on 7.12. It's just so crucial for Splyce to get rolling in the early game, and that's exactly what happened, because their comp did fall. It was going to fall off later on in the game. Like if we go to like 40-45 minutes, their team comp is going to be not as strong with like the Kalista, with the Lucian, with the Gragas, but still they were able to finish it off before that.
Yes, they did. Let's take a look at another fight, because I like that you mentioned that there was kind of that worry of, if it goes 45 minutes, Camille will be stronger, but Splyce are able to get engages like this, which they love.
Yeah, this is the big power spikes coming in from Splyce. Right now you have a 2-item Kalista, you have a 2-item Lucian, you have a 2-item Rumble, and this is where these sort of champions really spike, so that's why ROCCAT are not supposed to be upsieging that mid tower. They try to abuse Sengox being up in the top lane, but Splyce just shows that even though it's a 4 versus 5, they can win this because of how strong the team fighting comp is at this point in the game with the power spikes coming in.
And then Fraxy's trying to escape. I can't even remember if he makes in the end.
I think he gets executed, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's so close. He actually gets executed. Wow.
Right on it. And then after that, Splyce turns straight on the Baron. ROCCAT tried to disrupt a little bit, but they know that they won't have what it takes. They're only 2 against 5 in the end.
Yeah, Kalista is such a strong champion, not only because of the pressure that you can provide in the bottom lane, but also just because of the Baron. There's no way you can contest this objective when Kalista's been hitting that up. So I like the adaptation from Splyce. It's a similar sort of team comp with a strong early game and the team fighting, but this time just a much more refined draft. Yeah,
we have seen it in pick and ban trends overall in Europe. Xayah has gone down, Rakan has gone up a bit. Now the duo is, well, also pretty easily was beaten in this game specifically, and it seems that Kalista seems to be for AD carries a very important pick again, but obviously the rent stacks that she's always had to bring down objectives always been there, but it seems like a lot of lane matchups she's a good fit in now. Again.
Yeah, doesn't really have that like super. She can't really get hard countered out early on in the laning phase. This game also was picked into the Xayah, which was a good matchup for her together with the Braum. So I like the adaptation there from Splyce, and I think that you're not really supposed to leave the Rakan open for Modid, but if you do, you should have a plan prepared, and that's exactly what we saw Splyce immediately lock in the Braum, get that extra safety with the Kalista, and Kalista also contributes so much to the team fighting as you give the engage to your team with the Braum.
Absolutely, so you can just pull the trigger for the rest of your team. I asked you in the beginning of the day quick predictions, and you said Splyce 2-1, I believe?
No, I said ROCCAT.
Oh, there we go. So you did say ROCCAT.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to put words in your mouth, I just didn't really remember. But are you going to stick to your guns?
Yes, I think ROCCAT's going to take this. I think the 3 bans going towards Pridestocker in this game kind of shut him down. I think if Pridestocker can get his hands on a champion that he's more confident with, I think he can outplay Trash, who's not feeling as well. So I think ROCCAT's going to take this.
That's a bit mean. He's not feeling too well. Let's target him and get him out of there. Yeah.
It's what you got to do. I mean,
why not? All is fair
LCS
in love and war.
Line.
Yeah, we are just minutes away from the final game between Splyce and ROCCAT. Go grab yourself some popcorn. We will be right back.